listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. Today in studio with us, we have entertainment lawyer James L. Walker, who has represented clients such as DMX, Jamie Foxx, and Shirley Caesar. But as well as representing these clients, he also finds time to do philanthropic work and give back to our community. Let's welcome James Walker to the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Nan.
I am so happy to have you here. This is so exciting. I want to start out by asking you about, and I tried to find this out about you from the internet, but I couldn't find it. Where were you born?
I was born in a little town called Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, that's a good place. And you grew up there?
I spent my summers there, and I spent my winters in Connecticut. Mom and Dad separated, so I was with Mom in Connecticut most of my life. I thought she was going to give me a deep speech. I was in the dorm, and we were sweeping the room and getting a little groceries, and I said, I know she's going to have some powerful words. And she said, remember who you are.
So your mom is a big influence in your life?
Biggest, yep.
And you have siblings?
I have a sister with Mom, and then my dad remarried. I have siblings with him, so yes.
So what did that mean to you when your mom left you with those lasting words?
I didn't understand it for a while, and then as you go on through college and you see certain activities, certain things that people do at college, and you start remembering, like, wait a minute, I wasn't raised that way. Whether it be drugs or heavy alcohol or just the wild life of living in D.C. at 17, 18 years old.
Right.
And it just kind of sticks out to you like, wait a minute, Mom said remember who you are. And you get invited to things and you first think, well, I should go, but then it's like, wait a minute, that's not who I am.
Yeah, but you were in a fraternity.
Yes.
And you did fraternal things.
Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
Yes, there's a plug for Alpha Phi Alpha. But you did fraternal things.
Yes.
So, but you still remembered who you were.
Yes, I mean, the fraternity is about manly deeds, scholarship. First of all, we shall transcend all.
Right.
We were not out here, trying to do anything negative or bad or, rob a bank or anything. We were out here uplifting our community.
Right. Okay, so then you went out to Howard Law School.
Yes, I went to Howard Law School in 1992.
And then you came out of Howard Law School and then you moved to Connecticut.
Yes.
To be closer to your mom and sort of...
Mom, home, went back home, started a halfway house, ran a law firm, that whole
So
thing.
well, this is a great segue. You started a halfway house.
Yes, I had a halfway
what
house.
What age was this?
I was 30, I don't know, 38, 35, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay, so you started a halfway house for one for men and one for women?
I had one for men, and then my partner, Corinda Dawson Bonner, she had one for women. She was actually the one who brought me in. She had one called the Judah House, and we set mine up as the Joshua House. Oh, and the idea was that the Judah House was for the women. We still have the Judah House.
Okay.
We still run it today.
In Connecticut?
She's in Connecticut running it. She just left Atlanta this weekend.
So why did you feel the need to
Well,
start
when you grow up,
house?
I grew up in Bridgeport. And Bridgeport is a industrial town that took a hit in the 70s and 80s when factories started moving overseas.
This is Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Bridgeport, Connecticut, yes. So similar to some of the south sides of Atlanta or even north sides of Atlanta, Bridgeport was a town that was hit hard when manufacturers left. So you saw a lot of people get into drugs or get into crime, things that maybe if job opportunities were there or summer programs were there, they would not have done. And what it led to is when I graduated from high school, say in a class of 100, 150 guys, maybe 4 black males went to college out of a class of 100, 150 people or so.
That's a sobering statistic.
You saw a lot of people, unfortunately, get caught up in drugs, family members, whether using or dealing. You saw people get caught up in drugs, and you just felt like, I need to do something. So we tried to buy housing, provide good housing, and then we took one of our buildings and converted it into a halfway house.
So where was that instilled in you that it's important to give back?
I think it was a combination of grandparents, of course, Mom, my 7 uncles, who kind of played, I guess you would say, what do you call it, substitute fathers? There's a word I'm trying to think of when you have somebody stepping in. But my 7 uncles, I did a lot of work with them in the construction field in high school. Okay. They all were great, great master carpenters. So the uncles, my grandfather, my mom, we were just always taught as a family, you give back.
So they taught you hard work, too.
Hard work, yes.
Hard work, because, carpentry and that kind of stuff, that's
when you're 17 and you pull up to a housing project in the Bronx, 15 stories, and you're carrying windows up, or we used to say hoisting them up with a rope to get to the top floors if the elevator breaks.
Right.
And you're doing that 12 hours a day, you really, really appreciate like a college education and being able to have the opportunity to go and work in a professional field like the law.
So, were you always exposed to higher education? Did you always
No,
know?
I'm first generation. I was
Your first generation.
Yeah.
So, but I have many guests on the show, and we talk about this, right? The power of exposure, right? Your client is Soledad O'Brien, and you know I've had her on my show, and we've talked about that. In that, if you don't expose young people to the things that is possible to them, they just will be like, oh, this is my life.
I have 2 high school students. Well, they graduated from high school last month, but technically they're high school students, and they start with us this week. We opened a new office on the south side, so we have a downtown office and a College Park office now. So we're putting 2 students there, and we have a couple downtown. And one of the things and reasons that we hire high school students is we want them to go out to the awards programs, the nonprofit events like the Andrew Young event this weekend, the International Humanitarian Awards. We want our young people to see that because it's something about exposing them that motivates them, that inspires them. I speak at all kind of camps, baseball, basketball, football, high schools, colleges, and I'm always trying to tell these kids, look, you might not be the athlete, you might not get drafted by the NBA or NFL or Major League Baseball, but you can do sports law or entertainment law, and you can still be involved. And this morning we were set up a foundation for one of our athletes, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, aka Chris Jackson. We're setting up a nonprofit for him, and I have a young person helping me. And I was explaining to the young person, he asked me like, well, why is he doing this? Is this just, something to do or just a write-off? I said, no, people have a mission to give back, and they use the nonprofits to give back. It's their vehicle. Right. So a guy like Chris Jackson, aka Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, he will take his nonprofit, will buy a building in town, probably on the south side, and will service 1,000 kids a month through basketball camps, through tutoring, through litany of services, tournaments. I did it for 3 years with Marquise Grissom and his foundation.
Yes, the Marquise Grissom Baseball Foundation.
He's a client and a friend and a good buddy, so I got them set up, or I should say assisted them with setting up and getting the bylaws and all that stuff together, and now they're servicing thousands of kids annually.
And I hate to plug names, but I've had Marquise Grissom on my show before, and what he's doing through that association, helping young African American boys learn and love baseball, which there's not a lot of young boys.
You know how we met? We were on the south side 3 years ago. A baseball game was going on between Runs Batted In, RBI, it's called Runs Batted In, an organization, and a local south side team. So he and I were standing there watching the game. Our 2 older kids had gone to Woodward together. So we had seen each other on Woodward's campus but didn't really know each other.
Woodward Academy, y'all, is a private school, one of the largest private schools in the nation, in Atlanta.
Thank you. So our kids knew each other from school, but we didn't know each other. So I asked him, I said, how are you going to feed these boys? They were in town from Alabama. And he said, I hadn't thought of that. So I said, well, why don't we call this is it, a restaurant on the south side. They gave us a room. My son, some of the kids from College Park, and about 30 kids from Alabama all went to This Is It. And we just passed the collection hat. And all the adults, helped pay for it. And after that, he said, hey, will you sit on my board? And I was on his board for 3 years. And we have about 180 kids in college through that organization.
That is wonderful.
Mostly black colleges playing baseball.
Yeah.
But we've got them at Kentucky. I think we've got one at Duke. We've got some at Georgia State, I believe. I mean, they're coming in. Marquise is a brilliant, brilliant baseball mind and just a wonderful, wonderful, even more incredible person.
He surely is.
Really cares about, community.
And he cares about those boys.
And he cares about them. He will drive the van. On Sundays, you'll see him driving the boys to the baseball game.
His love for the game is evident, but his passion for exposing young kids to the game of baseball, because there are many statistics out there that says young kids, especially young boys, don't want to play baseball.
Well, it's funny you say that. When I grew up at Bassett High School in Bridgeport, I wanted to play baseball. Mom, we didn't own a mitt, we didn't own the shoes, we didn't own any. And I remember going to a tryout, and the coach was like, do you have spikes? And I was like, what's that, Mr. Schnazu? He was my Spanish teacher. And he was like, you don't have spikes? You don't have? I was like, no, I just play street ball kind of around the way.
Right.
And I could hit, I could run.
You're like, I just got to stick in a ball.
Yeah,
right.
I was like,
yeah.
But I didn't make the team, needless to say. But I learned from that, like, wow, you really need the gear, and I had buddies who came from well-to-do families, and I would borrow a glove from them from time to time, and we'd play like out in the local park. But I learned from that experience in 1985, like, just kids getting opportunities. So you fast forward now 30 years later, my son's pitcher, top prospect, doing his thing at Woodward, but he has, 2 trainers, pitching coach, hitting coach,
Right.
And it's just amazing if you don't have that exposure or opportunity. And Marquise has been a mentor of his.
Right.
He's really taken him under his wing.
Which, you're just reiterating my point that we have got to give young people in our society today exposure to what they can do and what is available to them, and just like you help your clients do, to further that cause by either by them going to a baseball game or even attending an award ceremony, whatever that is. That's what it means nowadays. Well, to us,
right.
to in order to give back. So listen, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and continue talking to Mr. James L. Walker. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. Today in studio with us, we have entertainment lawyer James L. Walker, who has represented clients from DMX and Shirley Caesar and Jamie Foxx, and the list goes on and on. But really, what's really cool about Mr. Walker is that he takes on cases which could be termed as David versus Goliath, and he wins. And so he won this big case about against Sony BMG Music. And I kind of want to go into that a little bit, because this was a huge case about urban artists, not being able to choose their legal representation.
Exactly.
And you through your small law firm, versus Sony Music, took them on for many years and battled this out in court, and you came out on top.
We believe it was victorious. We settled the case.
We settled the case, yes. And we can't talk about the settlement.
What we can say is it raised awareness to something that's been going on for years, which is having effective Latino, Indian, Black, whatever counsel represent these artists. Traditionally, many record labels have tried to steer the artists away from effective legal counsel or effective legal representation. And a lot of times what happens is the artist signs a bad deal. We've all seen all the movies, Cadillac Records, we've seen all these different movies where Black artists traditionally have been ripped off, and traditionally they haven't been represented by people that look like you and I. And what we did with the case is we tried to raise awareness and basically challenge the status quo. And now we have a wonderful working relationship with Sony. We have an artist signed to them, Leandria Johnson signed to them under their RCA imprint. We also have artists signed to Kirk Franklin, who's under their imprint as well. So there's a new regime in there, and we're happy to say we don't have to fight that way anymore, that we can now sit at the table and say, look, we're not here to burn the building down, we're here to just make sure the deals are fair and equitable. Right. And at the end of the day, we want the artists to have health care, we want them to have homes, we want them to have a retirement fund, everything you have as an executive at that level.
Right, everybody gets paid, and they're there doing the work. Right. Okay, so in our previous segment, we talked about how you graduated from law school, moved back to Connecticut, and started your first law firm there.
Yes.
And what did that teach you? I mean, you didn't want to work for a big corporation?
No, I was at a big firm in Hartford, 300 lawyers. I was the only Black associate in the early 90s. And
what was that like?
It was scary because you couldn't believe in this day and time firms with 200, 300, 400 lawyers still had, Christina's the only Black female associate, James is the only Black, male associate, Natalie's the only Latino associate. Right. And notice we're saying associate, not partners.
Right.
They might have had one Black partner or 2 Black partners out of 80 partners. And you could kind of see the writing on the wall. So what I did is I came in, I wrote a business plan, I asked for a lunch budget, so that I could take the likes of Ray Allen, Gayle King, Marcus Camby, all the people who were doing things in Hartford at the time in the 90s. Right. I took each one out to lunch or dinner, and I basically started building my brand, and after 2 years, we had about 60 clients. I was a second-year Black attorney at an all-white firm with 60 clients.
Wow.
And they didn't know what to do with me. They had this enigma of this kind of like, well, who's supervising him? Who's watching him?
So where does this initiative and drive come from? This is just from something that burns within you, or this is something that's been instilled in you? Or?
I mean, I always say, when I was in high school, we used to say there's no level of success, there's just a continuum of goals. So you reach one and you just keep, like if you walk in my office, you won't see a Howard degree, Yale degree, you won't see all those different awards, the boards I've sat on. My wall is pretty Spartan because my thing is, I don't really want to read that. I want to stay focused on what's next.
Yeah.
What do we have to accomplish next? You know, what's the next deal? What's the next nonprofit? Like, I'll sit on the board for 3 years, like with Marquise, and I'll say, okay, you guys are here. And I tell clients when they hire me, I'll say, once we get you to a certain point, we go find the next challenge. Like, we're not here to be your life partner. We're here to set you up, do some stuff like this, and then find other things. And like with Jamie Foxx, we set up his record label. We did all of the initial work with DMX. We did his book deal. With Shirley Caesar, we ran the whole You Name It campaign. And Dr. Caesar is somebody that's like a mom figure.
Right.
So that's a little different.
Yeah.
But the average client will just come through the door and we do something and kind of keep it moving.
I've heard this message consistently with leaders that they don't like to look back at all the accolades that they have accumulated in the past, that they're still focused on what's next. They're still focused on what else needs to happen to either cement my legacy or to, make positive changes in our community.
Here in Atlanta, we need another, I think, a black boys charter school. Our dropout rate is so strong. And one of the reasons I wanted to do your show, and Christina reached out to me, is because I wanted to talk about, like, my passion is charter schools. I was a board chair in Bridgeport. We turned one around there. It's winning all kind of awards now. New Beginnings Family Academy. I sat on the board chair for a couple of years with a friend of mine, and we were able to clean house. And I want to see Atlanta set up a better school situation, particularly for black boys, because I'm told that there's a 50% dropout rate in certain markets.
That's
black
huge.
Students, particularly black males.
Huge number.
And I feel like with my gift and my small talent from God, that it's my role to go deposit back into these boys, like my guidance counselor did for me, like that church mother or deacon or local business owner in Connecticut stopped me. I remember Mr. Braxton's guy had a suit store in a tough neighborhood for 20, 30 years, and he would stop me all the time I go in there to buy a suit, and he'd sit and talk with me for hours, in the wake of, violence right around the corner from us.
Right.
But guys like that remind you why we have to do this now. These kids are not all bad. These kids are not all trouble. These kids are not all, stick 'em up guys. These kids just need someone to come in and say, hey, I care about you. Right. Hey, I was you. Right. I was that kid living in Bridgeport, lived in the projects for a minute, lived on the Ave, lived here. I was that kid, and I get it. And someone just has to kind of tap you upside the head and say, okay, go to school. You're going to get that degree, that high school degree, and then that college degree. And then these kids are amazed with their potential when they see the result.
Right.
But someone has to believe in them, and I feel we've kind of gotten away from that.
And this is why I do my show consistently, and we talk about that same message every single time, that young people or whatever age person that that instills or inspires your passion, there's always a way to give back to them, right?
Definitely.
That's the message of
the
show.
And you asked the question earlier about what's the drive.
Yeah.
The drive is knowing that there's so much work to do.
Yes.
That's the drive, and knowing that even though we might have a halfway house here, we might have a scholarship fund here, we might have a board membership over here, there's still so much more to do. There's just so much. And I see these athletes making millions of dollars. I see these churches with mega ministries, and I always ask the question, are we doing enough? We have all this money. Are we really, really putting it back? I love when I see these athletes giving $1 million to their college or their high school, their community, and saying, let's go help some people.
Right.
I love when I see that. Or churches doing the same thing.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. So let's talk about you had your firm in Connecticut. It did really well, and then you decided to move to Atlanta.
Yeah, big move. I wanted my children to see diversity. I wanted them. We were in Monroe, Connecticut, and cold weather, and I just always loved the South. Going to Howard, I knew tons of people from Atlanta, of course, and Alabama, and all the different southern states. And I just wanted the experience, and I'm so glad I came where I came. My logic was, if you come here around 35 or 40 and it doesn't work out, you can always go back. You're young enough to bounce back.
Yeah.
But it has really worked out. The city has just met us with open arms. We have new headquarters now. Like I said, we're sitting on boards, Bronze Lens, National Black Arts Festival, my Woodward family, my different families at different parts of the neighborhood, my church family at Eagles Nest. It's just the community has just really engaged us quicker than I ever thought.
And you moved here 8 years ago.
No, not even that. I've been here permanently about 5. I was
5.
going back and forth for the first couple of years. About 2013, 2014, I sold my Connecticut home.
Okay.
And kind of said, now we're here.
Yeah.
And Reginald Green was kind enough to give us office space downtown. And then another brother, Brian Granville, was able to give us space near the airport. So for a while, I was kind of going back and forth until I figured out where I wanted to set up. And then we bought our building about 2-3 weeks ago in College Park.
Congratulations on that. That
Thank
is
you.
very exciting. So, I mean, you have 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about, their age ranges the youngest is 14, and then you've got one in law school, right? And
I'm that old.
well,
Thank you.
so, but my question is, what is it that you instill in your kids?
Yeah, they're all very driven. I'm noticing that now. They're all driven. They're all very focused. And I think what we did, their mom and I, what we did a good job was, first of all, the spirituality. And I always tell young men and women, but particularly my boys, that there's like a 5-fold to being a complete man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the physical, the spiritual, the mental, kind of emotional, the economical, and then the academical. And what I mean by that with academics is your schooling, get your education. Your business, handle your business. Pay your bills, your rent, your mortgage, whatever, your tuition in school. Physical, stay fit. I ain't saying you gotta be, running a mile every day, but keep yourself, fit and trim. And then, of course, emotional and mental, be stable. Be stable emotionally and mentally. A lot of men have issues. I was talking to a brother this weekend. We both grew up with tough dads, and we were both saying how, that affects you when you get out in life.
Yes.
And you have to really wrap your arms around that so that you can be healthy mentally and emotionally for your children and for your future relationships. And then the last piece and the most important piece is your spirituality. Having some oneness with God. Whatever you believe, making sure you have that God. So that's how I've tried to raise my children, and it seems like it's made them all very focused and driven.
Well, I mean, I can see where they get it from. The apple does not fall too far from the tree, as they say. Okay, so we're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to continue talking to James L. Walker. In our next segment, we're going to ask some really fun questions. So stay tuned and come right back. Welcome back. You're listening to Seen from the Inside. I'm your host, Neha Negandhi. In studio with us, we have entertainment attorney and philanthropist James L. Walker. And we didn't know this, but we happened to be at the same event this past Saturday evening, which was Ambassador Andrew Young's International Leadership Awards, which was also celebrating his 85th birthday. And you wanted to give a shout out.
Oh, I just want to thank Mr. Young. When I first came to this town, a mutual friend who I guess does consultancy with him, Denise Mitchell, took me to his home. And I sat with he and his lovely wife, Carolyn. And
yes.
He just walked me through how to adapt to this town, how to handle myself, basically pull back the New York, Connecticut aggressiveness that we have from coming from up north, and learn the people. And he said, if you do good work, they will embrace you here. And that was probably 2012 or 13 when I first got here. And we sat for a good hour. We were planning actually his 80th birthday party.
Nice.
We was helping, some of our artists performed.
Yeah.
Different artists did jazz and other things at that event. And I salute him as a big brother in Alpha Phi Alpha. I salute him as a Howard grad. I salute him as a man, of course. And I just salute everything he stands for. So, and it's one of the reasons I want to be in Atlanta. Because as I attended his party this weekend, I'm thinking, we don't get this in Connecticut.
No.
We don't get anything remotely like this.
Well, again, and I think, it's a great exposure for your children to be around civil rights icons.
My baseball son got to meet Hank Aaron.
Oh,
And that
goodness.
made his life, meeting Hank Aaron.
Well, here's a plug for my intern producer, Christina, whose son also plays baseball and who loves Hank Aaron. So, if you're listening, Mr. Aaron, Christina's son would love to meet you, and he's 8 years old. Okay, so there you go. There's a plug for you, Christina. She's smiling. All right, so let's get to the part that we get to ask you fun questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, they're gonna be sort of off the cuff here, and you just sort of answer.
Can I plead the fifth?
Well, you can if you really want to, but all right. So your favorite football team is
Dallas Cowboys.
why?
Emmitt Smith, Roger Staubach days, Tony Dorsett. We all grew up every Thanksgiving.
But-
That's when we only had one channel. Remember, you had 3 channels back in the day. And Thanksgiving Day, you watched football all day. And the Cowboys were America's team. So for those of us who grew up in the 70s and 80s, all we know is the Cowboys.
Okay, now listen, that is exactly my reason that Dallas Cowboys is my favorite team. See,
we
because yes, I'm saying
everybody in here, we go down.
we just get over there to Cowboy Stadium. My father is an immigrant from India, and he loved football, and Dallas Cowboys being America's
Have you
team.
been to the stadium?
I have not.
You need to go.
I need an invitation, Mr. Walker.
Christina
You
just
just
send you that.
yes.
I got tickets for you if y'all get down there.
Okay, well, we're gonna Christina, write that down. All right, so this is why we have a mutual love for Dallas Cowboys, right? And here we are in the city of Atlanta talking about Dallas Cowboys. But But anyway, that is what it is. Okay. What's your favorite place to eat in Atlanta?
In Atlanta, I like a couple places. There's the Mediterranean place in Buckhead. The name is escaping me.
Kima?
Kima, yes, I like there. I also used to like the Italian place downtown on 14th, right across the street, Deuce.
Dulce?
Yes.
Yeah, and okay.
Yeah, and then I like little small kind of hole in the
What's a
wall
place, a
places.
good place we should go to in College Park?
A good place in College Park. They used to have the Pecan, but I understand it's either renovating or not open anymore.
Oh.
So a lot of times I will grab lunch if I'm just doing down home at brake pads right there.
Right there?
Right there.
Okay, we're going to come see you there. Yeah. I don't know too much about College Park,
Yeah.
but I'm going to come
They're
visit you.
renovating like a whole section of
Really?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Another guest, Theron Johnson, said a restaurant called Juke Joint.
Yes, Juke Joint.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I've been to Juke Joint.
Okay.
Live music.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, that's his favorite. So
Oh, okay.
there you go. There's another one. Okay. All right. Here we're gonna ask you one more fun question, and then we're gonna get to a section where we call rapid fire questions. Okay.
Uh-oh.
One more fun question.
Okay.
What's your favorite place to go with your kids?
My favorite place to go with my kids, I like to take them to cabins because it slows us all down. So there's a Blue Ridge Mountain.
Oh yeah.
So we go up there, we rent a cabin, and then we used to have one in West Virginia when we were all living in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So you take them out to the cabin, and they gotta kind of rough it. You know, walking through the mountains, going fishing.
Did you do camping?
I don't want to call it camping. We're not
No.
outdoor. We're indoor. We're in a cabin. We're still, they're still bougie kids now. Don't get it wrong. They're still, suburban kids. You can't go too rough with them. But I like to do because, like turn the phones off, turn the laptops off,
Right.
just light the fireplace,
Right.
and just talk to me. Because each of them now almost like have their own team. Like
Ah.
the baseball kid has all his team, the law school kid has his team, the girl acting has her TV crew and her fitness crew, and then my student at UGA, Joy, she has her she wants to do Spanish. She wants to go to third world countries. So she's doing her thing in the kind of circle of Spanish, studying Spanish.
Well, you've got very different interest
Yes,
kids.
everybody's in, but they all have their own team. So you kind of, I feel like I'm the manager and I'm trying to get the boys group together. It's kind of like, can I all just leave your
Yes.
team and come be with dad? So
Yes.
Father's Day, I should see everybody.
Okay, here's the time do our rapid fire questions. Are you ready? You have to say the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, when I wake up in the morning, I
Pray.
cook a mean.
Steak.
When I am moving in the car, I jam to.
Michael Jackson, Off the Wall.
I love that. My favorite time with my family is.
Oh, wow. Favorite time, a bunch of them. Praying together, and of course, like baseball games with Zion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walker, for your time, for everything that you do for our community.
Thank you.
I wish you all the continued success, and I'm going to run into you at other events
Yes.
and continue to give back to this community, continue to get those kids involved and expose them, right? Because that's what it's all about. Get more Inside Scoop by following us on social media. On Facebook and Instagram, we're at Seen from the Inside. That's SEEN from the Inside. On Twitter, we're at Seen from Inside. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Seen from the Inside Talk Show.